Hello, I am Sheila Calkins, the Director of Title IX here at Suffolk University. And first I want to say, welcome to Suffolk University. We're so excited to have you here at the campus. And today I am going to be doing a presentation on the Office of Title IX. So I am the Director of the Office of Title IX, and it is a resource office here on campus that provides resources and assistance to students who have experienced sexual assault, dating violence, or stalking, or sexual harassment. So just briefly, Title IX is a law here in the United States that was passed to protect everyone, students and others, from sexual harassment, dating violence, and sexual assault on campus. So what does Title IX entail? Title IX is a law that prevents sexual discrimination. And as I said before, all types of misconduct like sexual harassment, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. And it's for everyone in the community, regardless of their sex, their gender, how they identify, or how they express themselves. And it's a federal law that was passed just recently. The new federal regulations came down in May of 2020. So I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about Title IX and how it impacts your presence here on campus. So when students first arrive on campus, there are a lot of things that are new to them. New classes, new friendships, new relationships. And the purpose of campus and college is for people to experience. Young people to experience all different types of activities here on campus. And also young people are testing their boundaries and they're experimenting, sometimes with things like maybe drugs and alcohol, but also things around relationships and maybe even sexual behaviors. And I think that a lot of students may experience pressure from social groups around experimenting. And so what we're going to talk about today is how you might find yourself in situations because of all this new environment and this experimenting and new relationships. And when something happens that is upsetting, I'll make sure that you know by the end of this presentation how to get help and how to get resources. So one of the areas that the Office of Title IX can be helpful to students is that the purpose of my office is to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone on campus. Also, to make sure that students understand what behaviors and actions are that come under Title IX, and also to make sure that anybody who does experience sexual misconduct or behavior that injures them or upsets them, they know where to go in order to get all of the help that they need right here on campus or nearby. One of the most important things that I hope that you take away from this presentation is that you have the right to give consent and to take it back at any time. And consent is really important in the area of Title IX because nobody can pressure you into relationships, whether it's dating or whether it's sexual in nature. Nobody can force you to do anything. You have the right to say no, and you have the right to say yes. And the important thing is that you understand that you have the right to change your mind. You might say yes in the beginning, and then change your mind and say, no, I'm good. No, thank you. And that is your right. So you have the ability to give consent and to take it back. And it's required at any time when you decide that you are going to enter a relationship, whether it's dating relationship or whether it's a relationship involving sexual behavior, you have the right to at any point consent or not consent. So I have a cute little video that I want to share with you. And this is all about consent and why you'll see it's pretty easy to understand why people need consent and also why not giving consent sometimes can be harmful to the person who is unable to consent. Video may not have been able to be heard. So what Into is going to do is they're going to make it available for you to listen to separately. So I apologize for those of you who were not able to hear it, but I do hope that you go and listen to it. It is a cute video about consent, and it explains it really well. Can you stop? So what happens when you do not have consent? When you don't have consent, that's when behaviors that fall under Title IX may occur. So sexual misconduct are those behaviors, such as sexual harassment, sexual assault, dating or relationship violence, stalking, including cyberstalking, and sexual exploitation. Without consent, all of those behaviors may occur, and if they do, then it would be prohibited conduct under Title IX. So the first one I want to talk about is sexual harassment. Sexual harassment can happen in what is referred to as a hostile environment. And what that means is that there may be promises or favors, like a grade or a job, that are asked for in exchange for sexual acts. It's behavior that makes you feel uncomfortable and impacts your ability to be successful in your school environment. And sexual harassment and the other behaviors that I'm going to talk about can be between two students or two employees, or even between an employee or faculty member and a student. Also, sexual assault. Sexual assault can be rape, it can be dating violence, and it can also be stalking. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about those in the upcoming slides. Other misconduct that I wanted to mention to you so that you understand that you can also get help to stop behavior if it's unwanted of these types. Touching. If someone is approaching you and touching you on a place on your body that you feel uncomfortable with, then that's not okay without your consent. Also, repeated unwanted invitations. If somebody is asking you to go out on a date or to go to the movies, or asking if they can come over and be in your room, or they're coming to your room and you haven't invited them and they are just showing up and it's happening repeatedly. All of those behaviors are something that if you haven't consented to and they're making you feel uncomfortable, then you need to be able to report that so that that behavior can stop. Also, if someone is constantly making sexual comments to you or about you to others, or about others to you, or jokes about your sexual nature, then those also are something to report in order for those to stop. Also, if they're displaying inappropriate pictures, if someone is putting embarrassing pictures up on the wall or on their door or on the elevator or elsewhere, and it's bothering you and it's making you feel uncomfortable, that sort of behavior can be stopped and those can be taken down. Sexual assault is sex or other sexual conduct without consent. Assault just means a physical attack where someone is touching you somewhere on your body and you haven't consented, and they're physically touching you or trying to physically do something to you. And a person cannot give consent if they are under the influence of alcohol or drugs, if they're 16, under the age of 16, which I'm assuming most of you are not. Also, if you are asleep or unconscious, nobody is allowed to touch you or do anything to you when you are asleep or unconscious because you can't consent. Also, if you are so afraid of the other person that you can't say no because of something that has happened in the past, or because of their size, or because of threats that they're making to you, then that also means that you have not been able to consent. So dating or relationship violence, it doesn't matter if you are in a relationship or dating someone. All of these acts that I just discussed and the ones that I'll be talking about in the future cannot happen because of a romantic partnership or dating relationship. Just because you're dating someone doesn't give them the right to do anything to their partner without their partner's consent. And again, I want to make sure you understand that consent can be given and it can be taken away at any time. You can consent to part of an act, but not the other part. You can consent to part of a relationship, maybe just dating, but if you haven't consented to sexual acts, then you have not consented, and no one should be forcing you to do that. So physical abuse, threats of abuse, sexual abuse, and emotional abuse are all examples of things that if they're happening in a relationship, it doesn't mean that it's okay just because you're in a relationship. Stalking and cyber stalking. This behavior can be in person, but it also can be by texting, Snapchat, WhatsApp, any digital communication, thus cyber stalking. It's harassing a person by constantly reaching out in person, following that person, or through digital means, and causing them to be in fear or in distress. And if that happens, a lot of times people will come to me and say, I'm getting these text messages from someone, and it might be someone in their class, or maybe someone in the dorm, or maybe someone that they met at a party that attends another school. If they are harassing a person and not stopping, and it's causing them to be in distress or afraid, then that may be stalking or cyber stalking, and it can be helped. It can be stopped if someone tells somebody so that we can help them stop it. I also wanted to talk to you about sexual exploitation. Although it doesn't come under the umbrella of sexual harassment, it is a behavior that students many times have come to me and talked to me about because they're concerned. And what it involves is receiving a picture, video, or finding out that someone may have taken an embarrassing picture or video of them or you that they didn't consent to, and they're sharing it. And this can be very concerning to students because it can be embarrassing, and they're afraid that it's going to be shared with so many people. And they often say to me, the whole campus is going to know. And I help them by ensuring that the sharing stops by contacting the person who has the photo or the videotape and telling them that they either have to take it down off a site or they have to delete it and stop sharing it. And if they don't do that, then they face discipline or sanctions from the university. So if you experience any of these behaviors, you do have things that you can do to ensure that you receive assistance. First, I always tell students, get to safety. If you have been somewhere and something bad has happened to you, go someplace safe. And that can be a friend's house, it can be where you live, the residence hall, it can be campus police, calling them, it can be a local police officer that you might see on the street. Just go somewhere and tell someone in order to make sure that you are safe. Also, there's medical care that is available around campus and on campus at Counseling, Health, and Wellness so that you can get help. Later on, there'll be a slide showing you all of the local hospitals that are within walking distance to the university where you can get medical help. The other important thing I tell people is make sure that you save whatever behavior or evidence there is of what has happened to you. And that varies depending upon what you might have experienced. For instance, you might have received 100 or 200 text messages, and that's what's concerning you, and that's what's making you be afraid or putting you under distress. Save those. Don't delete them. I know the first urge will be, I just want to delete them. But if they continue and it's not stopping, it's important to be able to show those to the person who is going to help you so that you can say to them, this is what's happening to me, so that they can review those. If it's a sexual assault, it's important to not wash your clothes and to save, if it happened in your room, not to touch anything in your room, whether it's bedding or towels or something that might have been used during the attack. You don't just leave it the way it is and tell people that you haven't destroyed anything, that you've preserved it. And then they will take what they need in order to preserve the evidence, and the rest of it you can do with whatever you wish. So just remember to seek someone out to tell so that you can get the proper advice in order to be able to get help and resources. Many students are afraid to come forward, and they say to me, well, Sheila, I was experimenting with, alcohol. I had had some drinks, and I know that there's zero tolerance here at Suffolk. So I was afraid that I was going to get in trouble or get somebody else in trouble. So I want to make sure that you understand you should not have that fear here at Suffolk. There is amnesty, which means that no one is going to get in trouble. They're going to be granted a pardon if they were experimenting with drugs or alcohol and something bad happened to them. Also, if you see something happening to someone and you report it, you're not going to get in trouble because you were at the party. You might have also been experimenting with alcohol or drugs. You're not going to get in trouble for that behavior if you're reporting something that happened to you or to someone else, such as a sexual assault. So why would you report? Because if you report, you're going to receive help and resources immediately. Your status here at the school is not going to be affected. A lot of times international students will say to me, you know, I worked hard to get here. My family worked hard for me to be here. I can't get in trouble. I can't leave school. You don't have to worry about your status here at the school if something happens to you and you tell someone in order to get help. That's not going to impact your ability to be a student here at Suffolk. What is going to happen is you are going to be provided all of the help and resources you need in order to make sure that you will be able to continue to be successful here and do well in school here, because you're going to get the help that you need. When you report, only you decide how you want to move forward. When I speak with students, I give them all of their options in order for them to make a decision, informed decision on how they want to proceed. No one's going to pressure you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. No one else is going to tell you what to do. You're going to be able to make that decision by yourself. We're just going to make sure that you have all of the information in order to make an informed decision. If you do want an investigation to occur, and if the person who injured you or hurt you or did something bad to you is found responsible, they will receive sanctions and discipline from the university. So how do you report an incident? You can report an incident by contacting me. That email address is where you can contact me. You can call me. Any call that you make to that telephone number goes automatically to my email, and I see the message and can hear the message, and then I can get back to you immediately. Also, if you are afraid and you go to the Suffolk Police Department, you can report to them. And reporting to Suffolk Police Department does not mean that you have to take future legal action. Reporting to the police doesn't mean that you have to go to court, and it doesn't mean that you have to bring criminal charges. Suffolk University also acts as a resource to students and helps them make sure that they understand the resources that they have available to them on campus and off campus. All you need to do is say to them, I don't want anybody to be arrested. I don't want to go to court. I just need help and resources, and they will help you. The other thing that many students tell me that made them hesitate to coming forward is because they're afraid that it's going to be, found out by others. So I want to ensure you today that if you come forward and you tell somebody something that has happened to you, that employee or office, they are going to keep it private, whatever you tell them. And they're not going to share that with anyone other than with me. And the reason that they share that with me is to ensure that you're going to have all of the information and resources to help you through this difficult time. But they will always keep it private, and I will always keep it private. And the reason that we want to make sure that you have all the resources and help, again, is to make sure that you are able to be a successful student. There are 2 offices that you can go to for help that also can keep things confidential, and that is Counseling, Health, and Wellness and the Interfaith Center. So what are some of the resources and supportive measures that students here at Suffolk have available to them if they need it? So here are 3 of the on-campus resources. Counseling, Health, and Wellness is right on the 5th floor of 73 Tremont, and they offer counseling, medical care, and wellness. Also, the Title IX office, my office, provides resources. If someone comes to me and they haven't yet contacted Counseling, Health, and Wellness or other resources, I'll make sure that they know about those and help them to make contact with Counseling, Health, and Wellness, the Interfaith Center, the police, campus police, if they want local police or other resources off campus that I'll go over in a few minutes. And also, I spoke about Suffolk University Police Department before, but they also are an important resource here on campus for students. And if you go to them, that does not mean that you have to take future legal action. The other 2 places that you should feel comfortable going to is to the people at Into. You can report to those people at Into, the staff, such as Sophie or Susan or others, and they'll make sure that you also get resources and that the Title IX office knows about it so we can make sure that you have all the help you need. A lot of times, staff, faculty, and other members of the community may not be as familiar with the resources that are available to students, and that's why so many of them, all of them, contact me so that we make sure that you have all of the information. So I promised you that there would be a slide of the local hospitals in the area. They're all within walking distance. The closest one is probably the very first one, Massachusetts General Hospital. It's only a couple blocks down the street, and many students go there for medical care or mental health assistance. But these are all local hospitals that are very good hospitals, and the University Counseling, Health, and Wellness office works with all of these hospitals on a regular basis. And here are some of the off-campus resources that also can help, especially with people who have been sexually assaulted or are in a dating violence. So instead of having help here on campus, or in addition to having the help here on campus, many times I refer students to some of these other resources off campus to help them. The other thing that the university and the Title IX office helps students with is supportive measures. And that can be in many different forms. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of the types of supportive measures that students have available to them. They may want to change their housing, or they may want to change their dining location. And so that's something that I can help them with, to maybe go change from one dorm to another dorm. Maybe the person that they're being harassed by is living on their floor or living in their dorm, and they either want to switch to another floor or move out to another dorm. And that's the type of thing that I can help the student with. Also, a lot of students maybe are not doing as well in class as they were before something happened to them, and they're worried about faculty noticing that they're not as attentive or they're not doing as well. So a lot of times students will ask me to communicate with their faculty. I don't tell faculty what happened to the student. All I do is tell the faculty member that the student is struggling, that I'm working with the student, and to please give the student an opportunity to continue to be successful in their class. So what are the types of things that faculty may be able to do for a student? Sometimes it might be that they missed 1 or 2 classes, and they're worried because you're not supposed to miss classes, and that sometimes is counted against the student in that class. So the faculty member, knowing that the student has been struggling and working with the Title IX office, sometimes will excuse absences because of being contacted by the Office of Title IX. Also, some students come to me and say, I haven't been able to concentrate, I was up all night, I was at the hospital, or, I'm so worried about running into the person that's harassing me that I haven't been able to study. So maybe they haven't had a chance to finish a paper, or maybe they're late on a paper. So those are the types of things that I can help a student with. Also, they may not want to have a person be contacting them anymore. And so what I will do is I'll put a no contact order in between the student and the person who is harassing them, and tell the harasser that they have to stop contacting the student, or that they are going to face discipline from the university. Also, academic support. There is an office here on campus, and many times students are not even aware of that office. So if they're struggling in a class and they need academic support, I'll make sure that they get referred to the proper office and people that can help them to get back into line on the class. And escort services. Suffolk University Police Department, many times I contact them and they escort students around campus in order to, and sometimes to the train, in order to ensure that they feel safe walking around campus and they don't have to worry about someone approaching them and harassing them.